You're back with us at Monza, where Heinz-Harald Frentzen has won the Italian Grand Prix. Ralf Schumacher second for Williams, Mika Hakkinen third for Ferrari, joined by John Watson and Tony Jardine. As always, you two old muckers, aren't you, Tony?
Well, we work together, Brabham and McLaren, so we know each other very well. So if there's a bit of Mickey taking, you know why.
And I give him a slap round the ears afterwards. He's used to it.
He slapped me before the program
I normally
started.
do it during the show, John, so don't worry about giving him a little clip now and again. Just overall impressions from you, John, on what we've seen.
First of all, a fantastic Grand Prix. And for Heinz-Harald Frentzen, Eddie Jordan, the entire Jordan team, well, a magic win. And the first win in the dry. As Eddie said, we've won in Belgium in the rain, we won in Manicourt in the rain. They've won here, and I think fairly and squarely, because Mika made a mistake, it was under pressure, and Jordan won the race. And for Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who 9 months ago was shop-soiled goods, after 2 years at Williams, he was destroyed. To come and win a race with such authority, and he's gotten better every Grand Prix this year. Magic.
Tony, comment from you on what we've just seen?
Well, I mean, could we have seen McLaren throwing it away? I know Mika Hakkinen, the story, it'll go ghost-like for him, of him crawling away into the bushes after this. Now, was it a momentary lapse of concentration? He'd just been given a pit board saying he's got to push harder before the pit stop, and the gap wasn't quite as big as he'd wanted there. And somehow, as John and I were discussing there, we think, you know, perhaps, well, he's definitely stalled the engine. Absolutely, really fed up, angry with that whole thing. He went into the wall in San Marino earlier this year. He was lucky in Brazil when his computer went down and he got it back. But when he goes away and he starts getting disconsolate, as he does in a minute, he'll be drewing those 26 points that he lost over the period of the 3 races through British Grand Prix Austria. It said, look at him, absolutely inconsolable, as he was at Macau after he got pushed off by Michael Schumacher. I've not seen him like that since he was at Macau in 1990.
John, the reasons for him making that mistake?
It could only be really a loss of concentration. I've looked at the pictures as the car came into the chicane. The only possibility is that he turned in slightly later. I'm talking maybe about a foot at most, and maybe not even that. Now, the outside of the track might be slightly dirtier. He also was on the brakes when he was turning in. And a combination of those two items would have maybe been responsible for the back end of the car breaking away. But once it broke away, he couldn't control it. But secondly, I think that the hand clutches that these drivers are using in these circumstances cause them to lose the engine. In my view, that was a recoverable situation. Had he had a foot clutch, he'd have put his foot in the clutch, kept the engine revs up, he could have got back into the race. He shouldn't have been able to walk away like that. And I think the question of hand clutches is one that will be raised after this incident.
OK, John, thank you very much. Well, you'll have seen Mika Hakkinen pushing his way past all sorts of interviewers. Louise Goodman has done very well to get a word with him.
Mika, was it just a momentary lapse of conversation, of concentration? Was there a problem with the car? Talk us through it.
Problem with the car? No, there was nothing wrong with the car. It's just my mistake, and that's. It's a difficult subject to talk about it because, you know, it's not much more to say. You know, you just say I made a mistake. I'm sorry. You know, selected wrong here. So I made a mistake, and that's it. End of story. You know. We can talk about it more and more and hours, but it's not going to change anything. It just makes me feel more uncomfortable. So I just have to now put my chin up, concentrate on the next race, and make it that way I get the points what I need. You know.
Your main championship rivals haven't really figured as much in this race as they could have done. Is that any consolation?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I think at the moment running 6 out there. So, you know, so if he gets that point, we're going to be equal. So it's going to make it difficult, interesting rest of the season, you know. I think we are looking for the championship, which is going to end up in a similar situation like end of last year. So get the Japanese visa, basically.
Who says big boys don't cry? We've not actually seen a driver as affected like that, Tony, have we?
No, as I say, he was very seriously affected in Macau. He was quite badly affected after San Marino earlier this year. But I thought for the first time we saw some cracks in his armour at Spa because he was really upset by the manoeuvre by David Coulthard. If you remember, they went into low source and they touched and so on. And he admitted that he was affected by that and he just settled for second place. He said, that affected the rest of my race. Well, that's up there. He should have fought, he could have fought, and John may or may not agree, but he could have got past David Coulthard at Spa, but he didn't do it. Why was that? Is he cracking a little bit?
Let's talk about the start here, John. he got away very well indeed, but there was all sorts of concertinaing there. I mean, you know this track pretty well. Tell us what goes on there.
Well, it's very difficult. The start, the run down into the first chicane. You're doing about 180 miles an hour coming down into the chicane. But it was a very aggressive start and a very aggressive, I thought, almost reckless first lap. Hakkinen got a good start. You can see he took the advantage and ran down. Look at Frentzen diving. But the movement of cars as they come down, there's no room. You're going into a bottleneck. You've got to get in cleanly. And it's so difficult. The cars behind third, fourth place are literally just aiming and hoping the gap is there when they get to it. And then at the back of the field, it was just mayhem. But that first lap, I thought, was extremely aggressive at the front and all the way through the field. But everything was going well for Mika. He got the perfect start, took advantage of his pole position. But look at that, Frentzen and Zanardi battling away for that second place.
We were just wondering what happened to David Coulthard there. John, any thoughts?
David just got swamped at the start, and really once he got swamped, he wasn't able to take advantage of the speed his car has. It's a disappointing race for David. He was so good. I mean, he looked wonderful in Spa. All the confidence a racing driver needs came through in Spa. His body language, the car language, the domination came through. Here, after a disappointing qualifying, starting in third place, maybe that already had given him a sort of a premonition of what to expect. He was overly cautious. He got caught at the first chicane, and he never really recovered. And whatever went wrong in the race, it'll be a big disappointment.
Tony, it's been a good weekend for Williams. Ralf Schumacher right up there on the podium. And Alex Zanardi having a very good race, a much better race, and you suspect it would have been even better if he hadn't had a few mechanical problems.
Yeah, I do, because you know, with the Supertech engine, they weren't that fast. You know, in fact, there was something like 19th and 21st through the speed trap. So it shows all this work they've done through the British Grand Prix. And just look at this here. Between the two Williamses, it was on the big diffuser, underneath the gearbox at the back, suspension tweaks. They were incredibly fast. And Zanardi has finally cracked this old left foot braking. And there's a mate of John's called Pentia who won the ROC Rally in 89, I think it was, who actually helps drivers with left foot braking, Grand Prix drivers, sports car drivers. It's quite an act if you haven't done it before. And he's come and he's mastered this thing. He drove very, very well. But he did have a plug came off the transmission during the warm-up, and he thought it was the differential going in. It's always his car that has problems with it, and Ralph's car has been perfect this year.
John Rubens Barrichello is on his way to Ferrari next season, and the way he went here today would have endeared a lot of Ferrari fans to him.
I think so, and Rubens drove a very mature race, and he has become a very mature race driver. I remember back in '93, when he was only 20 years of age, he joined the Jordan team. He's now 27, and he's changed a lot. And I think he is ready to take on the challenge of Ferrari, to be the teammate of Michael Schumacher, or effectively to be in the same position as Eddie Irvine. It'll be a different co-driver to Michael Schumacher than Eddie, and maybe Rubens' charm and his personality will maybe make things a little bit easier than maybe the more aggressive and gruff manner that Eddie sometimes employed in that position.
Here he is, Tony, dicing with Salo.
Well, I thought Rubens put in the best drive. Ralph was brilliant, but Rubens Barrichello was absolutely sensational, considering that in testing here last week, he had a disc explode, and he went off at 200 miles an hour. And the fact that the big gravel traps here have been angled upwards at the most dangerous of bends meant that he got away with it. And he said at one point, I really felt the car was going to flip over. And he cured a big understeer problem this morning during warm-up as well, and transformed that car. And he was brave, he was overtaking. Who says Formula One cars don't overtake these days? He really was man of the match for me anyway, and showed his future Ferrari fans that I'm a star.
Probably because he had breakfast with us, perhaps.
Yeah, well, indeed.
Never know, do you? OK, still plenty to come from us at Monza. The press conference and the competition included. We'll be right back. You're back with us at Monza. We go straight to the press conference. Mika Salo, Ralf Schumacher, and the big winner today, Heinz-Harald Frentzen.
Heinz-Harald, first and obvious question was, how did you feel when you knew that Mika was out?
Well, I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what happened exactly, but I saw him there after the first, well, in the first chicane, rolling off, spinning off, and I said, I can't believe it. He had a 7-second lead in front of me, and by this time it was consistent, the gap. He didn't go any faster. I don't know what happened. He might have lost concentration or something.
But your race yourself, you seem totally in control. You seem to have no problems. Is that right?
Well, it was at the beginning I was trying to keep up with Mika, and I couldn't hold him, and I did all my best, really. The only worry I had a very long stint, and I was not sure how going to be the tire at the end of that stint. And I tried to save a little bit of tires, not having too much wheel spin. But then I pushed hard, really. I saw also Ralph coming up, overtaking Zanardi. So I think I pushed towards the middle again, just to keep away from Ralph. He seemed to be very competitive in that stage.
And then the last, after the pit stop, it's just plain sailing?
Well, yes, I mean, I was longer out than Ralph. I did some couple of quick laps. After my pit stop, I was clear ahead of Ralph and of the other guys. And I just tried to finish the car, not revving the engine too high, not abusing the tires too much and the brakes. So I just tried to drive the car home.
Thanks, Heinz. Ralph, superb second place and a very aggressive first lap. Perhaps you could talk us through those first few corners.
Yeah, the first few corners were a bit tight, really. I had to go over I had to take a little shortcut, not to get together with David. I think it was, and then I fight it with Mika, but I was able to hold my position. And well, I have to say thanks to the team, and I have as well to say thanks to my teammate who made it incredibly easy to get by him to drive my race. I mean, without his help, I think I wouldn't have finished second today.
So Alex let you through on his own. He wasn't asked by the team to let you through?
No. I mean, we have that agreement that if somebody is quicker, rather it's him or me, we help each other, we don't stop each other, because at the end of the day, we're driving for the team to get the best result. And today, again, I have to thank him. He did the right choice for me. And, well, he has a big share on my second place today.
Thanks, Ralph. Mika, who was it who decided you should push for third place and not help your teammate Eddie Irvine with his World Championship bid?
Well, it's a bit difficult if we have 3 cars between us or 2 cars, so it's very difficult. Otherwise, well, it's actually impossible, yes. So.
And what was it like being up there on the podium with the Ferrari Tifosi?
Yeah, unbelievable. After we had such a bad weekend, really, we were so slow all weekend, and we were lucky to be in top 10 actually. So it was it's very emotional out there because everybody was screaming, and especially here in Italy, it's just unbelievable.
Fair point that from Mika Salo. A final up some from you, John, first of all.
I think we've seen the complete rehabilitation of Heinz-Harald Frentzen as a Grand Prix driver, and I think the emergence of a true, almost now #2 team in Jordan. And I mean, a magic weekend for both of those, and they'll go to Nürburgring on a high.
Tony?
I just think it's great that John is actually up here, because one of his biggest fans when he was young was actually Eddie Irvine. He used to crawl under the fence to go and watch him race at Silverstone. And he said that it's possibly the last chance for a championship for a driver from Northern Ireland, and it's all to play for, equal on points. He's out of jail, isn't he? Well done.
Absolutely, and he's got a great chance. The championship has come alive again for him.
OK, John, Tony, thank you very much indeed. Well, Eddie Irvine not crawling under any fences today, making his point. Here he is with James.
Eddie Irvine, I guess you got out of jail a bit today.
Yeah, well, it's the only way. At these sort of circuits, we just got to get to the finish. At the start, I was maybe a bit too cautious. You know, there's a couple of times I could have maybe got 1 or 2 places, but I was, you know, I really had to finish and hope that the McLaren broke down or something happened. Apparently, Hakkinen went off, that's nice. It makes me feel good.
I bet it does. You're in the equal lead of the championship. 3 races to go, so you put this behind you, obviously, thinking forwards a little bit.
Yeah, you know, we were always going to struggle here. We're always going to struggle at the last 2, to be honest. We're equal on points now, and with 3 circuits where they won't have such an advantage. You know, and Mika's got to be a bit nervous now when he's out front on his own, which is nice. Twice he's done it this year, and a hat trick would be nice if he could manage that.
He's still in there. Here's Eddie. Ferrari fans streaming out of Monza into the Italian sunshine. But look at that. That's the fans trying to get a souvenir from Giancarlo Fisichelle's Benetton. Well, they'll take anything they can get. Order restored. OK, now it's time for our competition. We have teamed up with the Scottish Motor Show, due to be held in Glasgow in November. You can have some great trips with us next year.
Well, these things money can't buy. First prize, an all-expenses paid trip for 2 to Melbourne for next year's Australian Grand Prix as VIP guests of Stewart Ford. We have some very special prizes for 5 runners-up as well. Trips to the races in Barcelona, Manicourt, Silverstone, Hockenheim and Monza. You and a friend, again VIP guests of Stewart. Plus, we've 5 Sony widescreen TVs and 5 PlayStations to give away. So all you've got to do is answer a couple of questions with a distinctly Scottish theme. Question 1. Which city is hosting the 1999 Scottish Motor Show? Is it A, Edinburgh, B, Glasgow, or C, Aberdeen? Question 2. How many F1 championships has Jackie Stewart won? Is it A, 1, B, 3, or C, 5? And here's the number to dial: 0900 122 9966. 0900 122 9966. And the best of luck to you all.
And it's a good competition, that another chance for you to enter at the European Grand Prix in a couple of weeks' time. Let's just show you exactly how things look in the Drivers' Championship. Mika Hakkinen and Eddie Irvine. 60 apiece and 3 races to go. In Germany in a couple of weeks, the European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring, and then Malaysia and Japan. Okay, there is more reaction and analysis in our highlight show just before midnight tonight. A couple of weeks' time, as always, the full ITV F1 service from the Nürburgring, the European Grand Prix. Qualifying live, 11:30 on the Saturday. And our big race build-up starting at 12:15. Jackie Stewart, by the way, has promised to join us for that, 12:15 on the Sunday. And highlights, everything wrapped up, as always, in our highlights show just after midnight. Well, they came here looking pretty downcast. Always get a massive crowd here, over 150,000. But, well, Ferrari somehow pulled things round this afternoon. And it really is now building up to a terrific climax. What an astonishing race, really, we've seen. We had a giggle from Mika Hakkinen at the start of our show, and then tears from the world champion. Ferrari, who at that stage were looking very glum, all of a sudden have a spring in their step. 60 points apiece, 3 races to go. It's game on, okay? Bye-bye.
Quick in the straight, but slow in the corners, and it counts. So unfortunately, I wasn't really able to race these guys, and I had a very difficult balance. I made it hard work for myself by running off the circuit a few times. So those things considered, I have to be happy with 2 points.
Is your championship hopes gone, do you think, now?
Yeah. I wasn't thinking about the championship before, so as I've said many times, I look at the individual races and then add up the points at the end of the season and see where we are.
Tell me about the moment when you realised that Hakkinen was out.
Well, I just it was really hard to believe what happened. I mean, I saw him there in the corner. I thought really for a moment he must have spun off. And it doesn't look like a technical problem. And I thought by myself, maybe he got bored there and just lost concentration.
It's a great performance for us, and I didn't know that I did the quickest lap time, so it showed that we were overall quick this weekend. Obviously, we couldn't have won the race, which we didn't anyway, but second, I think is a great achievement for us.
The way this weekend started, I have to be happy. Until really this morning, I still missed a warm-up this morning with the engine failure, which they never have before, so yeah, I have to be happy.
What was the feeling like up on the podium?
It's very emotional, having 100,000 people screaming your name, and even Heinz won it, and Ralph was there, but they were just shouting my name all the time, so it's embarrassing.
Apparently Hakkinen went off, that's nice. It makes me feel good.
I bet it does. You're in the equal lead of the championship. 3 races to go, so you put this behind you, obviously, thinking forwards a little bit.
Yeah, you know, we were always going to struggle here. We're always going to struggle at the last 2, to be honest. We're equal on points now, and with 3 circuits where they won't have such an advantage. You know, and Mika's got to be a bit nervous now when he's out front on his own, which is nice. Twice he's done it this year, and a hat trick would be nice.
Very pleased. It was just a shame that we lost a little bit on the pit lane, although otherwise we would have finished on the podium here. So to finish for my present boss, Jackie Stewart, that he deserves so much, and Paul as well, and to finish in front of my next future public, it would have been fantastic.
So check this out, 60 points apiece, 3 to go. Frentzen overtaking Coulthard, and that could well mean a supporting role for him from now on. And Ralf Schumacher closing in on elder brother Michael. McLaren's lead in the constructors is down to 6, and Jordan's 10 points take them 27 ahead of Williams. Barrichello's 3 points take Stewart above Benetton. What a day here at Monza. Well, Tony, we normally talk about your magical moment on this programme, but I think in the race today we saw one of the defining moments of this year's championship.
I think we did. McLaren came here as the clear-cut favourites. Ferrari was struggling, and then Mika Hakkinen, almost on a silver plate, handed it back to Ferrari. Dream time for them at Monza. Unbelievable. Mika Hakkinen out front, nearly 8 seconds ahead. He just had the push board before the pit stop from the McLaren pit. Momentary lapse of concentration. Perhaps he went down one gear too many. He talked about snatching gears. Off he went, inconsolable, in tears underneath the trees, hiding from everybody there. Distraught. A terrible time for Mika Hakkinen.
How much of a blow is it for Hakkinen, who's got a very strong character up there, up in his head?
Well, I think after he dropped his head in Belgium and settled for second place, after he got upset by David Coulthard, this is serious for the psyche. And the fact that it should and could go down to the wire in Suzuka, that is the backyard of Eddie Irvine. Remember 97 when Irvine went away, ran away from all of them? He's in big trouble now. It's going to be level pegging.
This could well be the Grand Prix when David Coulthard was reduced to supporting Mika Hakkinen, and everything went wrong for David from the start.
From the start, yes, he got bottled in. It was actually a frantic start. We have to remember, look how wide it is up there. Brilliant start by Mika Hakkinen away. Also a fabulous start from 4th place by Alex Zanardi there. And look at Coulthard, he gets bottled out from the back. They all squeeze him. Now this is where it funnels and it tightens into the Rettifilio. And this is where Ralf Schumacher diving over the inside. He was very lucky indeed. And Rubens, 5, 6 of the others following through. Nobody went off miraculously. And look at them jostling for position down there. Hakkinen moving and weaving around there, Zanardi getting through. It was a fabulous start, and Coulthard just went back and back and back, and he ended up with just 2 points.
You've got a safety point you want to make after the accident between Bedoya and Takagi.
It's something Michael Schumacher brought up about having little guards over the rear wheels, very hot racing tyres despite the grooves on them, where there was an accident between Luca Bedoya and the hard-charging Teranosuke Takagi. Look at this, he gets his braking on. They're coming down there from 200 miles an hour into the Rettifilio. You saw the front tyre and the rear tyre fused together. He was lucky he didn't fly through the air and over the top and into the crowd.
How do you see it now, Tony?
All to play for. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It is brilliant.
And Irvine has pulled himself out of jail here, really, hasn't he, after what has been a sort of tepid old weekend for Ferrari, 2 in the top 6.
It just shows you can never wait for Formula 1. It's never predictable. You don't know what's going to happen next, and I'm sure it's going to go down to the wire, and I'm thrilled by today's race. It was fabulous.
Tony Jardine, thank you very much indeed. OK, let's just get another slant now, shall we, on the Italian Grand Prix. James Allen, first of all, reflecting the mood changes in the Ferrari fans.
Well, the Tifosi came here this morning not expecting to have a great deal to shout about, but in the event they've actually got out of jail. Eddie Irvine is now back, joint leader of the World Championship. But that's not to say Ferrari haven't got a lot of work to do. They were completely outclassed here in performance this weekend, in suspension and aerodynamics, and the development department is going to be working absolutely flat out, although the next 3 races, of course, should suit the Ferrari a little bit better than this one. Tactically, a very interesting race. It just goes to show that although all Formula 1 cars may look the same, in fact, they're very, very different. Just look at this. This is the Stewart of Rubens Barrichello, and in there is the smallest fuel tank, arguably, in the whole of Formula 1. And that's really what stopped him from being further up today. Conversely, the Jordan of Heinz-Harald Frentzen has an enormous fuel tank. And tactically, I have to say, Mike Gascoigne and Trevor Foster, the 2 strategists of the Jordan team, did an absolutely wonderful job today, filling the car up with fuel, bringing Heinz-Harald Frentzen at just the right moment. A terrific job. Also, a word for Williams, a private agreement between Ralf Schumacher and Alex Zanardi that whoever was faster but behind would be allowed to pass. That worked beautifully today. Great teamwork by Williams. But here as the Tifosi settle and gradually go home, I think the overall feeling is that the championship is not over yet.
Far from it, James. Well, here's your complete Monza rundown. Frenzen's 2nd win of the year. Ralf Schumacher 2nd. He had the fastest lap as well. Salo, the unexpected Finn, on the podium. Barrichello, Ferrari bound, doing himself no harm. Coulthard 5th. That's not really good enough. Irvine's point, putting him equal top of the leaderboard. Zanardi and Villeneuve 7th and 8th. Best of the year for both of them. Alesi 9th. Hill making the top 10, and Panis in the Prost, the last official finisher. Herbert retiring with a broken clutch. Both arrows crashed out on the same lap. Hakkinen, you know all about him. Trulli's Prost overheated. Zonta's BAR's brakes were faulty. Bedoya had that collision with Takagi. Wirtz's Benetton had electrical trouble. Diniz, Fisichella and Genet all had very early finishes. A great day then for Heinz-Harald Frentzen, the Monza winner. Does it get any better than that? It certainly does.
I can't keep it secret anymore. I can't speak about it, so I had to promise her that soon we're going to announce that, because nobody should know it. And
announce what? You're the papa.
The baby. I'm getting papa. Yeah, I'm getting
This makes
papa.
him slower, then I'm sorry. We'll have to postpone the birth.
But Eddie, just seriously for a moment, give us your thoughts on Heinz-Harald's drive today.
Well, I think as everyone has seen, I mean, you know, one of the things I liked about it, we had a press launch at the beginning of the year in London, and everyone was talking to Damon, and rightly so in some respects, and he stood up and he said, hang on a second, there's 2 drivers in this team, and I think he's answered everybody by doing that, because he's not more focused, but he's very committed and he's very quick. He doesn't make mistakes, and this will be the key factor in winning the championship, because we have 3 races to go. Anything can happen. The car seems to be getting quicker and more reliable, and he makes no mistakes, so we have a chance. Not a big chance, but a chance.
Everything going Frentzen's way then. It's a home Grand Prix next for him. We'll be live for the qualifying from the Nürburgring, 11:30 on the Saturday morning. Jackie Stewart, by the way, would join us for the big race build-up from 12:15 and the highlights round about the same time, just after midnight. 3 to go then, all square. It's going to be some finale. Good night to you all.
Heinz-Harald Frentzen wins at Monza in Italy.
If you'd like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by Level 3 Communications is www.itv-f1.com.